Why use WordPress versus Blogspot?
WordPress you can host on your own domain, so all of the content you create will be giving you search engine benefit. If you write on Blogspot, all the articles you write will be giving Blogspot search engine benefit. So it's better to write on your own domain where you're building your own kind of intellectual property asset.
It's also just has a much more open architecture, WordPress does. One of the reasons I'm excited to work with Garron is that with Rain City Guide, I've had WordPress for 5 years now, and you can add a lot more to it. So putting plugins and like adding home search to it, and like the ability to really build on it. You can do that with Blogspot, the Blogger platform, but not to the extent you can do it with WordPress.
You were talking about Google Analytics earlier. Has any one of you written a post about the steps to go through and utilize?
So the question was, we were talking about Google Analytics. Has anybody written information, post pages on how to set up analytics?
But there's a ton of them out there. I haven't written one in a long time. I could write another one. Might as well. I guess that's some feedback. All right.
It's really not that hard, but most of the time it has to be done by either you have to have access to do it through like FTP, or you have to have your host do it. Yeah, but I mean, most of the time you're going to have whoever runs your website do it, but it's really easy. It's just a little bit of code that goes on every page. If I can make a one plug while I'm waiting for questions too, I actually, while I was waiting down here, I wrote a post on my blog, forreals.net. If you go to the number 4, REALZ.net, about this. I included a photo that Dale took and stuff. We'd love feedback on how my presentation went, on how anybody's presentation, I'm sure everybody would. Feel free to go there. It's just the number 4 and then REALZ.net. I'm still looking for questions. Okay, you want to go here?
What kind of support does HomeQuest have for an agent that is, not real, have a lot of experience with blogging, et cetera, that kind of thing?
So the question was, what kind of support does HomeQuest have for agents who don't have a lot of experience?
None.
Sold.
We have full-time support. We sell the whole thing for an $80 a month subscription price. At that price, we can't sit down and like one-on-one business development brainstorming with you and that kind of stuff. But we hold open houses. I believe we're doing them every week or every other week, where you can drop in, and those have been really beneficial. And we have really good technical support and a big library of help online about these types of things. Plus, I think a really good thing is to begin to follow myself, these guys, some other people in the community that are doing this, so you can start to absorb the pieces. I think that would be, a combination of attending some drop-ins to get specific things fixed, the resource library, and then following the conversations happening publicly. I think that'll help a lot.
CPC.
Cost per click. Anything particular you want to know about it?
It's such a broad market.
It's a broad, okay.
Being a small player, it's such a large thing.
Right.
40, 50, 80 cents a click.
Right.
I'm almost to the point where I think I would put my money in a different type of advertising.
Yep. Let me talk on that for a second. So cost per click advertising, the way it works is you pay money and someone clicks on the ad. All those little things sprinkled around Google tend to be cost per click ads. One of the things I like to use them for is to determine whether I want to work on search engine optimization for a particular term or not. Because once you start working on SEO, it can take 6 months or something before you see a result. So it's worthwhile. I use AdWords as sort of recon to say, is Portland real estate for sale really worthwhile? Spend a bunch of money or some money on cost per click ads for that and see what kind of traffic comes. Is it people that are likely to buy or not? And then if it is, then I initiate a search engine optimization. So I use everything to observe. So I use the results from cost per click advertising as a cheap observation.
We do a lot of that. I think the thing to keep in mind, one of the things to keep in mind with the AdWord type campaign is that the traffic alone is not, it's like a little ecosystem. And you probably need to have the way you're going to handle the whole system working. So I spend money to bring people to the site. I have a conversion in mind, like where they're going to sign up. That's not the goal, right? The goal is then how do I then how do I prospect? How do I reach out to those people that are signing up? And how do I set appointments? And how do I cultivate those leads long term? So what we've found is I think that there's an initial structure piece, and then it becomes a personnel issue. The ability of a human being to relate to another human being via email and via the phone that are coming to your site has that is the single biggest variable in the equation, is the effectiveness of the person reaching out to the other person. So just something to keep in mind, like there's a structure piece, there's a cost of a conversion, but I don't focus too much on the cost of the click-through. I'm focusing more on the return of the whole system.
I'm trying to focus some of my work on doing like video content for my website, and I'm trying to figure out, is there a way that Google can actually take the actual words that I'm saying on my video without me having to put it like a typewritten tag or description, and they could actually recognize what I'm saying on my video and use that for any SEO benefit? And on the same note, is there a way that also, like when I post a video online, like it's rare that I'll ever see that ever placed on top of a Google search. Like I'm trying to promote a video more than just a blog or a page.
So the question is, and Gahlord's going to take it, is if you produce a video and place it on there, is Google kind of seeing inside of that video, or do you have to really put words on the page to let it know what's actually happening?
Unfortunately, Google is just like it's blind, it's also deaf. That's the way it goes. But that said, you might be able to find some inexpensive services to at least do the first pass of that kind of work. So I would recommend that. The other thing is to get involved in something called MRSS on your website, so like multimedia RSS. That lets Google know that you have multimedia content. That's very helpful for getting listed in that blended video search result. I think if you're on WordPress, there's everything a plugin.
Yeah, there's plugins, and it sounds like I think I know you well enough to know that you do this stuff, but really want to focus on keywords as well and tagging your videos both on YouTube as well as on your pages or your posts that you're posting that stuff too. Tags go a long way, and there are transcription services like Gahlord's saying. There's Jot, which does like 3-minute ones that you talk into it, but I'm sure that there's others that'll do more full-length video type stuff. I don't know of any though.
Yeah, we've been playing around with a lot of video, and we use a plugin called TubePress. And what I like about TubePress is we're putting our videos right to YouTube, and then we're able to write our tags and titles and descriptions in YouTube. And then we can configure this plugin to bring those videos in as thumbnails, but it will write your description, and whatever you tell it to write, it'll write that metadata on the page also. So maybe it's not nearly as robust as a transcription service, but at least I'm telling Google what this stuff is about, and it's able to write it on the page without a bunch of manual input from me. We're just starting to experiment. I don't know how effective it is, but just from a logic standpoint, it can't be bad for Google to see on-page descriptions of the video thumbnails that are on my pages.
Probably one more question.
If you don't have room visually for H1 tags on your website, if you use like a wacky value for texting them, is that going to hurt you in Google?
You have room for an H1 tag on your website. That's the real answer to your question. Just use some CSS and make it look the way you want it. You've got the room. Google is filled with tons of very smart people, way smarter than any of us, and it's best not to mess with that.